I'd like to call the Finance and Revenue Committee meeting to order for Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. Brian McGinnis, myself as the chair, Nicole Shimoni, and Brian Travis. There any announcements? Seeing none, we can move to item 3, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items that are not on the agenda. Seeing none, let's move to item 4, Director's Report on monthly financials. Ms. Barb Leonti.
Good evening. If we could start with page 2, please. Looking at the cash position report for July 31st, 2025, we started the month with $30,235,938 in cash. We booked receipts of $7,300,793. We spent $8,107,596, and this left us with an ending cash balance across all funds of $29,429,135. Moving over to page 3, the due to and due from balances. As of July 31st, the balances are significantly down from June. In June, we had due to, due from balances of a little over $2.9 million, and we have been able to reduce that down to $252,516. We were able to transfer funds that were in the Stream Protection Reserve cash balances in Pliget. We transferred the funds in that fund to the debt service fund because there was an internal due to, due from Fund 16 to Fund 30. And then we were able to use the money in Fund 30 to transfer to Fund 09, which is parking, to satisfy the liability due. And those numbers were the big numbers that made up the $2.9 million balance. Just a word on this. We've always been aware that these balances have been high, but we have worked, we set a precedent within our office that the goal was not to increase these balances any more than what they already were, and to set internal controls to be able to balance these accounts each month and make sure that we're transferring money back and forth. So the ask tonight later on in the agenda is to write off $189,100, and this is for internal due to, due from balances in the recreation fund. Moving over to pages 4 and 5, the line item variance explanations. Looking at the revenues in the general fund, we're doing very well there. Business privilege tax is better than budget by $51,000. Prior year real estate taxes that are in collection are better than budget by $72,000. Interest income on the general fund side is better than budget by $113,000. We did buy 5 CDs today that we bought through Pliget. That totals $750,000. We used general fund money, sewer, parking, and stream protection. These were all 90-day CDs with interest rates ranging from 4.30 to 4.12, with the goal being to boost interest earnings on the other funds besides the general fund so that I can meet my revenue projections in the 2025 budget. Looking on the expense side, legal fees in the general fund is over budget by $7,000. The utilities line item in the general fund is over budget by $41,000. We do know what this is. There's some reclasses that need to be made for missed postings that we just didn't get the journal entry completed in time before these financials were posted. And then one other line item I'd like to mention is in Fund 15, the traffic light maintenance, GL 15433.31. This line item is currently over budget by $13,000, and there is an ask on tonight's purchase order requests for traffic signals that will increase this line item overage to almost $30,000. We are working on an internal control process to address some of these budget overages. That this will include communication as well as a plan of action. We do communicate line item overages in this report and each month when I present it, but we do need a plan of action dealing with some of these line item overages. And this will be addressed in the revised purchasing policy that I'm currently working on and will have for your review in September and for discussion on the the agenda next month. That's all I have for the financials. Are there any questions?
With that, first of all, thank you for the report, and thank you for taking in the advisement of investing and looking at CDs and creating more yield. That helps us a lot, helps you, makes your job a little bit easier. I always ask, what are the headwinds? What are the tailwinds as we approach year end and budget season?
I just think making sure that we have a good grasp. Again, I'll always say it on line items because I feel that, sometimes there's always a lot of asks for things that are coming up, especially in the general fund. If you look at the cash balances, there's not, huge pockets of money there. So I think we need to be, understanding of that. And then just making sure that, we're following procedure and that, there's explanations for things that happen because things are going to happen. There's going to be emergencies and, just being aware and cognizant of these things, especially moving into budget season.
Any further questions? Any public? Well, let's go. I apologize. I should have went to public comment first.
Ann Carroll, 106 South Franklin Street, member of the Zoning Hearing Board. I'm just curious because the Zoning Hearing Board has been talking about this. There's no number. Did I miss why there's no number next to how much we're over budget?
So that this is currently $28,000 over budget, and it was my error. I must have been writing this out and I should have done a better job. So I apologize for that.
And my other follow-up would be, since that was third-party zoning services and we did not have a zoning officer full-time in place, is there a possibility that some of that employee cost should be shifted into that, whether it goes to that budget item or not? Do you understand what I mean in terms of we should not, the Zoning Hearing Board would not look that bad if the zoning officer had been available. So just my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay.
Yeah, no, I actually on that last public comment, I do have a question. Is this resource being shared across multiple departments or accounts, or is it all attributed to zoning hearing?
That is all being attributed to zoning hearing, but I can give you a better summary of exactly what is going into that. But it is definitely the costs associated with the third party for that particular service.
Just one follow-up question on the due tos and due froms and due tos. You mentioned reducing the amount that we're shifting from account to account. Can you explain the significance of why that's important, just for the record?
So it's important that money is being transferred each month, that we're reconciling these items. We should not have large balances. There should not be large internal funds between funds. It's bad for an accounting perspective, and it's also going to be an issue when we go out to the bond market for tax exempt bonds, because the underwriters are going to come in and look at our financials. So I think it's in our best interest to make sure that we're doing everything possible that, that our records are in good shape.
Thank you.
Further questions? Okay. Thank you, Barb. Appreciate it. Moving to old business, approve the July 2025 meeting minutes. I didn't see anything on there that would need to be changed. We could call that approved. Old business, discussion of purchasing policy related to capital projects.
So we've been discussing this internally. I mentioned it in last night's meeting as well. We have 31 active capital projects in the borough for 2025. Many of those projects are purchases of equipment, ranging in price from $5,000, $15,000 was the budget for our new council chamber audio system, for instance. And we'll go out and we'll buy those and we'll put them in place. Those are very easy things to report on and to catch if we're going to be over budget. I don't think those warrant any more treatment than any other kind of purchase. However, there are anywhere from 7 to 10 of these capital projects in our plan this year that are multifaceted, meaning we go out to bid, we sign a contract with there's a project manager. Not all things are known when you start. It takes 90 days, 120 days to finish the project. There's communication, there's impacts, and as we learned with the Rain Garden project, there can be change orders. So those 7 or 10 projects are going to be packaged in a monthly report by the project managers, and I assign the project manager role to department heads that are running point on those projects. And they'll also we'll also have reporting from our engineering firms, Remington Vernick, if they're the consulting engineer like they are on the Gay Street project, or Pannoni like they are on the Taylor Run stream restoration project. Their monthly reports will back up that information as well. However, it'll be the department heads coming to you, whether it's public works or public safety, whatever the appropriate way that rolls up, we'll be giving you a monthly report with formatted discussion around where things stand, what the expenses are to date on each of those projects. The good news is we've already built a lot of this already on the back end. It's how we archive the information. So all we need to really do is create some deliverables out of those processes to share with you, and then make a point of doing it every month. So we can be more proactive about what's going on with the project, more detail oriented, and more thorough in our review. And it's not as many projects as I thought at first. When I grabbed the list, 7 or 10 is a pretty easy number to manage. And as of right now, a few of them are already completed. So I think the active number is even lower than that right now.
Thank you. I mean, I mentioned this and you and I had a conversation about putting these projects out there publicly so that we know every month just what type of capital projects, infrastructure projects have been finished or in the process of being completed, or future projects. I think that would be something for us to know and share that information moving forward. So I would like to see that. One of the things I mentioned, of course, it came regarding the rain garden project, and the communication breakdown would be potentially see, maybe not this year, but something that we could build up to, or someone that could take the lead on as an overall procurement director to ensure that we're covering all of our bases for all these projects, that everyone knows what's going on all the time. Because that obviously didn't happen with the rain garden project as we find out more information. So again, I don't want to see that happen again, where we go into a change order and we don't know until a couple months later the dollar amount, because that could potentially lead to a tax increase at the year end. Any other comments?
I think what you're suggesting is some sort of controls around procurement and status of a project, and whether or not there's been any overruns or whether we have budget left over, sort of on an ongoing basis, tracking through. You mentioned 7 capital projects.
7 to 10, depending on one of the capital projects that's kind of on that margin that makes it 7 or 10 is we're going to replace the playground equipment at Horace Pippin Park. So yeah, we can report out about that, but it's one vendor, one project, start to finish. It'll probably be done in a 3 to 5 day time frame. So is that one of the ones we'll report on? For sure, yeah, we will. But that's one of the more minor ones that makes me say it's between 7 and 10. The Maple Alley sewer capacity upgrade, yeah, that's very complex. That's taking 4.5 months to design. Design costs north of $80,000 just to get it to bid. A project that's going to be probably bid out in the $900 to $1.1 million range with grant funding to support it. That's something you really need to be hearing about on a monthly basis. And Sean took the lead last night and talked a little bit about that. There's a finance item on tonight's agenda about that. I'm going to create standards around how that reporting out is supposed to happen. And projects like Maple Alley, you'll hear about every month. Might get tired of hearing about the sewer project. We're going to talk so much sewage.
Trash, sewage. When is with the reporting going to start? Are we going to see it next month? Are we?
Month. Yeah, it's easy. We've got most of it stood up already in our monthly.
Thank you. Any further public comment regarding the purchasing policy? Okay. Seeing none, new business, motion to approve proposal from Urban Engineers to partner with West Goshen Township for review of Westchester University conditional use plan.
We discussed this matter together as a team and with West Goshen Township and Borough Council to talk about getting a third-party engineer that neither of the municipalities work with to do an independent review of Westchester's conditional use plan. They went out and asked 3 firms for proposals. They got 1 response from Urban Engineers. We have a hourly proposal. They did not quote it as a lump sum. The costs would be split between West Goshen Township and Westchester Borough 50-50. Conditional use review fees are not reimbursable under the MPC. We charge a fee on the front end when conditional use applications are made. I don't know what we classified it as, but the conditional use fee is anywhere from like $700 to $1,200. But the consultant review fees are not reimbursable, so this would be on us to share this cost with West Goshen. It made the most sense to have one firm review it and share those costs. And when we have public meetings in Westchester and Urban Engineers, should council approve this, and Urban Engineers attends, they would bill us directly for that time as well. When West Goshen holds their conditional use hearings, Urban Engineers would bill them directly for their time at those meetings. So there's kind of a differential there. Like if we have a lot to go through and we run up a bill, it's on us. And if they have a lot to go through, it'll be on them at their meetings. But to do the initial review, this is a way to, I think, save some costs and get some cross-boundary perspective on the plan.
Thank you. Any public comment regarding the motion?
Lisa Kearns, 300 Block West Biddle. I'm curious about the breakdown of the share. You said 50-50. Is the bulk of the project in West Goshen, or is it here, or is it really 50-50? The project itself. In other words, this is as much land and complication in Westchester as it is in West Goshen.
It just depends on what factors you want to put on both sides of the scale. Yeah.
Well, that's something to consider. The other thing is, you said 50-50, but then you said if they have a lot of meetings, it's on them. If we have less meetings, we only get charged our meetings.
Urban Engineers is going to charge for meeting attendance the municipality directly for the meeting that it attends.
Okay.
So if West Goshen wants to have 500 meetings about this, they're going to get a big bill. And similarly, Westchester, but we're not going to split that.
Not going to split
Meeting
that part
attendance.
50-50.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Carroll, 506 South Franklin Street. What is it that we hope to gain through such an expenditure of money that we would not gain through our normal process of engineering? I heard cross-boundary things, but I'm not sure how that works. What is it we want to gain here?
Sort of approach to reviewing the plan.
But if something is happening in the borough through this conditional use, and I have not completely understood what we're even looking at, because this is a plan like a concept from what I understand. So I'm not even sure how an engineer examines a concept of what they want to do. And then we would have another engineer when it comes to fruition 5 years, 10 years down the line.
I think it gives us an opportunity to think about what could be a problem, things we need to think about, along the way. Think about it this way, there's a proposal in there to close down Church Street.
Which has been a proposal for 20
years.
years.
Yeah, but I'll use it because
Or
it's an
more.
easy example. But traffic, if you think about it, there's traffic here, there's traffic there, there's traffic, impacts on both sides of the boundary. So for someone to look at it more holistically and to pull us together to think about it more holistically and those impacts could be beneficial, as opposed to us saying, oh, it's going to hurt us over here. And they're going to be like, it's going to impact us over there. Or parking. Another thing could be parking. If parking changes or things like that, there's impacts all over. So as opposed to us saying things in silos and not hearing each other's voice, which can happen if you're working through things separately, you have an opportunity. You're kind of ready. You want to say something. I can see it already. But yeah, there's opportunity to collaborate and talk things together.
I would just urge council to make sure indeed that we are an equal player, because that experience has not always been the case, that we are an equal player when we share these things. And prime example was the modular setup and the fact that in the zoning hearing board, which was not the supervisors, but the borough was told that we're over the 500-foot boundary by 200 feet, and therefore there would be no reason for us to be a party, even though the parking for those things is at College Arms. So I want to be sure that you guys are making sure that if we are playing with money, that we are an equal partner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Darrell Cook, South Walnut Street. I'm curious how many of those people would be involved with reading the 900-page report? And do we have a minimum reading requirement for pages per minute? And
It could be like the Book It Club. You get a pizza after you read a whole bunch of pages.
I'm thinking we'll pay $1,000 for the first hour of reading if they all read the report.
I think, Daryl, your question leads to the question I was going to ask Sean. Like, are we going to put a cap on, do we have a cap in mind, since this is just an hourly fee here? Like, what's our cap? Like, how much do we estimate this would cost us? I don't know. We haven't really done a plan like this in the past. I mean, this is new, but I feel like maybe we should put a cap, or at least a cap on it, that if we get close to going over, it has to come to us and we have to, you can put it on your capital projects list, and, it's a change order or something.
Thank you. And is East Bradford involved with any of the master plan?
Yes.
South Campus Housing?
Yeah, because.
Are they not going to take a percentage of this? Thank you.
Do you mean for the collaboration piece of the?
Not in this, East Bradford's not part of this. It's just between us and West Goshen. Currently, I had the same question. How come East Bradford, were they invited to participate in this? East Bradford is the other township that is impacted by Westchester University's master plan. Were they part of the joint agreement here in terms of the hourly evaluation and impact analysis and whatever else is part of this? I had a question about scope as well, because there's nothing about scope here. It's just a bunch of hourly rates. I don't even know what the combined bill rate for this would be in terms of a blended. There's a lot of questions I still have about it too. This is the first time. I'm not live reacting to this, but I had a lot of the same questions that are here in the audience. It seems like there should be more detail. And I also want to know why East Bradford's not in this, or have they been invited to the table?
With that being said, it's probably best we table this to next month's meeting, Sean. So we find out those answers, the cap, East Bradford being involvement. And I guess we could look at like the specifics as well.
There needs to be like an SOW.
That's sorry.
The specifics, overall specific
What is
subject.
the scope of work? Does it
Right.
include reading a 900-page document? I think those are all valid questions.
So we will table item A. Item B, motion to approve writing off internal due from account balances in Fund 07. That was the $189,000 that Barb had mentioned.
So this ask tonight is to write off internal balances within the recreation fund. And I know that I've talked about this, but I just want to put it on record for people that are not aware. These are liabilities that exist, and liabilities on a balance sheet never go away. The only way that they can be extinguished is if you transfer money or you write off the balance. I am not a big proponent of coming before you to have to write this amount off, but unfortunately in this fund, there's not enough cash to move to be able to satisfy these funds. And as I talked about before, this was mentioned in our audit report about reducing these internal balances, and as well as my concern to make sure that our financial records are in good shape for when we do go out to the market for tax exempt bonds. So just a little summary of the fund. This fund originated in 2016, 2 borough managers ago and a different finance director. It was set up as a quasi special revenue fund. The revenues were special fees for recreation events, as well as a transfer from the general fund because that was needed to balance the fund because the fees that were raised through the events were not enough to cover salaries and capital expense. We no longer use this fund. We account for all of recreation's activities in the general fund. As I said, the fund does not have enough cash to satisfy the internal fund balance due to other funds of $189,100. Currently, the fund only has $5,000 in cash. And just so you're aware, the amount that is at the top, which is due to the general fund 07-230-001, the $70,221 balance originated from 2016. 07-230-009 at the bottom that's highlighted, $61,651 originated in 2020. And the last one, 07-230-11, originated in 2018. Are there any
Thank
questions?
you. Thank you, Barb. Any public comment? Sean?
Thank you. I do want to stress too that Fund 07 is not going to go away. In the event that we have a deposit of funds from rec fee in lieu charges or expenses at land development, this is where the dollars will go. And we use this as a bucket of money to help fund capital projects, where we fund that back through the capital fund number 10, to pay for capital expenses in a year. So this fund will remain open, but it become a restricted purpose fund where we deposit the dollars from the rec fee in lieu deposits that we get.
Question. Are there more write-offs that you plan? Are you like planning these out? I feel like this is the.
No,
only-
this is the last request for write-offs because I took a good hard look at how we could satisfy those prior balances. And there was money within the stream protection fund sitting in Pliget. Again, I think that if you can move the money around to satisfy these items, I think that we should, because they're not items that were just arbitrarily booked in the trial balance. They were for, expenses that were paid. So the notion of just writing it off to write it off, I'm not a fan of. So, but obviously you have to have the money within the fund to do that.
Thanks.
Any further questions? No. Any objections? All right, we could consider that a 3-0 decision. Item C, motion to issue a request for proposals for pension plan actuary services. This was a recommendation from the pension plan committee.
Then we do not have a form of that RFP. We can draft it up. We just want to get council's consensus to go out and look for those services. We had used Mock and Hop Benefits Group for many years. Barb might know when that started. It was a long time ago. And the actuary we worked with was Sue Trout, and then Mock and Hop was bought out by Acrisure. Acrisure is a publicly traded company, I believe, from somewhere in the Midwest, I think. And through that transition, Sue became an employee of Acrisure. She left Acrisure, and it's time. I think it's best practice to kick the tires every now and then, and that's what the the Pension Commission recommended that council consider putting an RFP out and bringing some results back to the Pension Committee. The Pension Committee could make a recommendation to council.
Thank you. I mean, I'm in agreement with that. I think we should have RFPs from time to time as well. Any public comment? Any comment on the day?
Yeah, I have a question. What specifically are we looking to do with the actuarial services? Are we validating assumptions? Are we double checking numbers? I mean, anytime I think about pension, I think about things like insurance and the death rate and stuff like that. So is that what we're looking to do?
Regular work that we send the plan actuary, there's a biannual report that has to be filled out and filed with the state, from which the annual minimum municipal obligation is determined. And then there's a couple of annual reports that are filed with the financial audit of the financial statements every year. So those two things happen all the time. And then there's as needed services. If we're in contract negotiations, for instance, with the police labor union, and they're proposing changes if they propose changes or we propose changes to the pension plan, we would have to engage an actuary to demonstrate what the financial impact of those changes would be before we can agree to them. And I guess there's some simple things where retirees and benefit calculations, right? Barb knows.
So they also prepare calculations for when employees present, their retirement. So obviously the finance department pulls together all of the salary information, and then that goes to the actuary, and then they do their calculation. The actuary also prepares employee pension statements that show, what the expected monthly pension amount would be for each of the employees. Then they also do calculate the MMO each year. And also there's financial statements that they calculate, and they also do the OPEB report that's due on a biannual basis.
Thank you.
Any objections? No, we call that a 3-0 decision. Item D, motion to approve the 2025 Westchester Preservation Award sponsorship. This is something that's actually tied to our comprehensive plan. And this goes to supporting architecture standards within the borough. We have sponsored this for a couple years now, Barb.
Yeah, it's been sponsored for the past 3 years. And historically, we have sponsored the Serpentine sponsor for $900.
Any public comment? Any questions from the dais? Any objections? We consider that approved. Item E, motion to approve the following.
Brian, if I could just stop you.
Go ahead.
Just want to make you aware that I have a couple points on some of these purchasing approvals that I just want to make you aware of.
Go ahead.
So is it okay if I do that first?
Absolutely.
Okay. Item number 3, Cumberland Marine Repair. This is a capital project for the fire department. The 2025 capital budget was $20,000. And this approval before you tonight is $21,299. So that line item will be over budget. And then under line 10, the purchase of the ATV for the fire department, the ask tonight is $71,064.99. The budget was $72,000. So between the two items, there's going to be a budget overage of a little bit over $300. I know it's not a big deal, but it's just important to remember that this is a special revenue fund that is contracted with the municipality. So there's only a set amount of revenue coming in and then expenses going out against that. Item number 4, Friends of Marshall Square Park for $16,385. We had originally come before the committee a couple months ago. To issue a PO for these repairs from an accident that happened. We soon learned that the Friends of Marshall Square Park did the work, so we need to reimburse them instead of the various vendors that were on the prior PO. And as part of the purchasing policy, I, as the finance director, cannot make a change to any vendor without issuing a new PO. And because this PO was over $10,000, I need that reapproval. Item number 7, signal service for $16,930. As I had spoken about earlier, this is within the Fund 15 liquid fuels. The line item is already over budget, and this will make it even more over budget, up to a tune of $29,000. And then finally, item number 9, Great Lakes Recreation. The ask tonight is $65,386. Last month, we did a budget summary for the Recreation Fund for their capital projects, and our ask was $65,000 for this project. Again, it's a $386 budget overage, but I felt the need to at least report it and make you aware.
Thank you for your attention to detail. I appreciate that. Well, I'll just read them off and we could go from there. Item number 1, 10-8 emergency vehicle services, $11,293.36. Johnson Controls for $16,250. Cumberland Marine Repair, $21,299. Friends of Marshall Square Park, $16,385. Petroleum Traders, $41,974.40. Usiloc, $12,835.20. Signal Service, $16,930. Watchkeep, $24,258.54. Great Lakes Recreation, $65,386. And the Fire Department purchase for ATV, $71,064.99. Is there any comments regarding those items? Public comments first. Go ahead.
So Barb, it's tertiary, but it's relevant, I guess. The signal service. So you said it's putting liquid fuels more over budget than it already is.
And the way that we're going to deal with that overage is the budget for 2025 for the road paving was $300,000, and the invoice is expected to come in around a little under $250,000. So that's how we're going to deal with that overage. But again, as I said, we will have that in writing as a plan of action. But that's how we're going to deal with this this evening.
Okay, because I was also thinking, I'm like, doesn't our
And
like,
again, I
winter
only
stuff come
I
out of
only
liquid
say
fuels
that
too?
for this fund as well, because the liquid fuels is a special revenue fund where there's an annual allocation where there's only so much money that comes in. So, you know, you're only getting a small amount and then there's expenses that have to go against that. So
Paving, we saved $150,000. Did I hear your numbers?
no,
correct?
around $50,000. So
$50,000.
this line item overage is 29. So that offsets
That'll
that.
wash it out.
Yes.
Okay. Now that'll balance, I'll get it close to balance. Now, do we have more liquid fuels expenditures coming up, and are we going to be okay by the end of the year?
So that's always a concern for me, and I know I'm a broken record, but my point is it's only August and we're not going to get money again until April. So I think that's, you know, a fund that we're going to have to sort of closely monitor to make sure that, you know, there's only so many dollars in it, and you can only spend what's in the account. So it's going to require some monitoring.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any objections to that motion? All right.
It was, yeah, I just had one question because you had also mentioned there were two things, I think approving the expenditures, but there was also a request for a new PO. I just want to make sure that didn't get lost in the approval.
Yeah, so the reason,
purposes.
again, that's part of the purchasing policy that the finance director does not have the authority to change a PO if there's a new vendor that's needed. We have to void that PO and then reissue. And because this item is over $10,000, I can't pay a check to Marshall Square, the Friends of Marshall Square Park, unless I have authorization. So that's why this is on here again for your reapproval.
Require a separate motion? Sean? Or can we lump that into the overall motion to approve purchases? Okay.
Okay, any objections to item E? Okay, well, we can consider that approved. Item F, motion to approve PO 5280 for additional 24,000 for a soft dig utility locating for the Maple Alley sanitary sewer upgrade. Mr. Mitchell, I did hear last night the Public Works Committee meeting about this.
Correct. Good evening. Yes, I brought this up to Public Works, so everybody was more of the council was aware of it. 90% of the bid package is design and bid is completed. All of the utilities have been located by Aqua Pico, us with sewer. That's basically just where they go out and paint it. What we're concerned is we originally had 25 areas. They want to confirm how deep the gas line is, the water line is, the electric line. Excuse me. Pannoni wants to hire a contractor called Bloodhound. They come out with it's just a big vacuum truck. They use a pressure washer. They go down, there it is. They're for 80 hours, $30,832. Right now, they have $7,800 in their budget for bids left from utility locating. With that, we're asking, take that out, it comes down to 24,000. If we don't do it now, and we do it in the bid, if they come up and they say, we're doing it now, if we need to relocate a pipe later, that's going to push it back. So we're asking, right, they are also, running about $30,000 under budget for the bid and design. But Pico hasn't issued any offerings yet, so they don't want to reallocate that 30,000 to do this. Then we run into a problem with DEP. Then I still got to come back. So it's we pay for it now, we pay for it later. If we pay for it later, it could push it back. Instead of a 2-month project, it could be 6-month delay or 4 months, or push it back to when school's in, which we're trying not to do.
And more expensive.
Correct.
Thank you. Any public comments regarding this motion? Comments from the dais regarding this motion?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something. It's kind of, I was walking my dog this morning and I live very close to Maple Alley, and a neighbor was out, and he lives on Maple Alley.
Correct.
And he is concerned about, especially with students, loss of parking along there during this project. And you kind of alluded to like when school's out, when is this digging happening? And do we have, and you might not have an answer tonight, but do we have a plan for making sure that
Again,
everybody
we're
gets
waiting on
parking?
DEP with the 250 East Market Street, the connection management plan, the land development, for them to say, yes, you can go. Once we do that, then we can, and also that would tie into our bid and design plan, where we're shooting for to go in the winter to be done. We thought about it more that if something comes up, let's just shoot for May 24th. That's the first Monday after college is out. The majority of the college students are gone. We don't have to worry about it. The residents are less impacted with, hey, move on to the street. There is street parking now. And with that, the alleys are only going to be closed during work hours. At night, the alleys will be open for emergency services. It's either going to be plates or stone. We're going to fall in it that way. I have sent a letter out. I personally delivered them to every touching property. We're waiting to see what happens before I do that again. I don't want to have to keep, it's good for me to lose weight, but I don't want to have to keep walking around saying
No.
it's changed again, it's changed again, it's changed again. So we're trying to do this and keep up so we don't have to keep changes and pushing it back farther and farther.
But right now, you're thinking that the start's going to be actually in May?
We're
at the
hoping,
end okay.
we're hoping next summer when they're out, the
Great.
optimal thing would be the Monday after. That's a shoot date right now.
When we walk our dog again, I will share that feedback.
Right.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Well, thank you for the presentation and thank you for letting the neighbors know. Appreciate that. Any objections to this motion? Okay, we could call item
Thank
F
you.
approved. You're welcome. Number 7, other business.
I just have one item under other business. I learned last night that I need to revise another purchase order. This is for the police department. This is for the approval that was gotten last month for their drones. The department has learned that the vendor that we had that was approved can't meet the demand for this product. So they needed to go out and get another vendor that could meet that. There's no change to the amount. Again, it's a purchasing order policy following that I can't make changes to any POs. And again, because this item was over $10,000, I need reapproval. So we are voiding PO 5380 that was issued to Adorama, and we are going to be purchasing from Altitude Hobbies, and it's for $21,136.35. So there's no change in the amount. I don't have an attachment, but we will have this on the work session for next week, and I just wanted to make you aware.
With that not appearing and with the sunshine law, Sean, does it, and you would probably know this too, Brian, does that have to be put on work session then for us to approve that?
Yeah, it would
Because it's
appear
a
on the
financial
work
item.
session. This agency can't
Yeah.
take any action on it, meaning you can't make any recommendation
Right.
because it's a financial matter.
Got it. Thank you, Barb. Appreciate it. Any other business? Seeing none, we adjourn at 6:16.